Have you ever gone on vacation, hopped in a rental car, and had that split second of panic where everything just feels wrong? You reach for the gear stick and hit the door, you look to the rearview mirror, and it's not where it should be? It raises a really simple question with a surprisingly wild answer. Why don't we all just drive on the same side of the road? Well, let's dive into this global divide. It's a story of swords, wagons, and revolutions. So first off, let's just look at the raw numbers. You might think, oh, everyone drives on the right. And you'd be mostly correct. About 2/3 of the world drives on the right. But that leaves a whopping 34%. That's more than a third of the entire planet who stick to the left. We're talking huge countries like the UK, Australia, India, and Japan. So this isn't just some quirky little exception. It's a major global divide. And that brings us to the big question, right? Why? How did we end up with two completely different, deeply ingrained systems for something as basic as which side of the road to use? Well, the answer has nothing to do with engineering or safety or which way is better. It's all about history. To get to the bottom of this, we've got to rewind the clock way, way back. Before cars were even a dream, there was a kind of unwritten rule of the road, and that rule, keep left. For most of human history, that was the default, and it all came down to a really practical reason. Just think about it for a second. In a world without police, where any stranger coming down the road could be a potential threat, personal safety was everything. And since most people are right-handed, traveling on the left side of the path kept your dominant hand, your sword arm, free and ready facing any oncoming traffic. It meant you could shake a friend's hand or, defend yourself in an instant if you had to. And this isn't just some cool theory, We've got actual clues to back it up. Archaeologists in England found an old Roman quarry road where the ruts in the stone are way deeper on the left side. That's the side that heavy carts full of stone would have used on their way out. Fast forward to the 1300s, and the Pope literally ordered all pilgrims heading to Rome to keep to the left. And it wasn't just in Europe. From medieval knights to Japanese samurai, warriors liked to keep their weapon hand facing a potential threat. It just made sense. Okay, so if keeping left was a standard for centuries, what happened? How did 2/3 of the world end up flipping to the other side? Well, the Great Divide was basically created by two huge events, a practical revolution in America and a political one in France. And this is where we get two totally different paths to the exact same outcome. In late 18th century America, the game changer was this massive freight vehicle called the Conestoga wagon. The driver didn't even have a seat. He'd ride on the back left horse so he could control the whole team with a whip in his right hand. And from that position, it was just way easier and safer to drive on the right side of the road to see oncoming traffic and avoid a collision. Now, meanwhile in France, the rule of the road was a symbol of class. The aristocrats traveled on the left, forcing all the peasants over to the right. But after the French Revolution, well, you really didn't want to look like an aristocrat anymore. So everyone scrambled over to the right side to blend in. The new government, and later Napoleon, made it the official rule and spread it all across Europe. And here's the crucial part. The choice was also political. As historian Gwyn Dyer puts it, the brand new United States chose the right side not just because of wagons, but as a symbolic break from their old colonial rulers, Great Britain, and as a nod to their revolutionary allies in France. Driving on the right actually became a political statement. So this historical split isn't just a fun fact. It created two fundamentally different blueprints for how we get around in the modern world, baked right into the concrete and steel of our infrastructure. I mean, just look at how deep these differences go. In left-hand traffic countries, you're sitting on the right side of the car. In right-hand traffic countries, it's the left. Roundabouts flow in completely opposite directions, clockwise on the left, counterclockwise on the right. Even the simple act of passing a slower car is a complete mirror image of the other system. These aren't just rules you can memorize, they become pure instinct. And that right there is why changing sides is so mind-bogglingly difficult and expensive. You can't just repaint the lines on the road. Every single part of the system is designed for one way of driving. Where they put the traffic signs, the way on-ramps and off-ramps are angled, even the crosswalk signals that tell pedestrians which way to look first. It's a complete interlocking system. This brings up a really fascinating engineering puzzle. What happens when a country that drives on the left shares a border with the country that drives on the right? You can just imagine the chaos. How do you safely switch thousands of cars from one system to the other every single day? The answer is some seriously clever engineering. It's a concept sometimes called a flipper bridge. At borders, like the one between Hong Kong, which drives on the left, and mainland China, which is on the right, you find these specialized bridges that elegantly twist the lanes over and under each other. They guide traffic from one side to the other, seamlessly and safely. It's a physical, concrete solution to a historical problem. But okay, a bridge is one thing. What if you wanted to change an entire country? It sounds completely impossible, right? But it has been done. And the most famous example is Sweden, which back in 1967 took on one of the most ambitious logistical projects you can imagine. The Swedes called it Dagen H, or H-Day. What's wild is that the public had voted overwhelmingly against the change, but the government pushed it through anyway, mainly for safety and to be consistent with all of its neighbors. The actual execution was incredible. The night before, all non-essential traffic was just banned from the roads. Then, in the early morning hours, at exactly 4:50 a.m., every single car, truck, and bus in the entire country had to come to a complete stop. Then, for 10 minutes, silence. At 5 a.m. sharp, everyone carefully, slowly moved over to the other side of the road, and traffic started up again. Just like that, Sweden became a right-hand driving country. Now, an operation on that scale, it doesn't come cheap. The cost of changing every single sign, every intersection, every bus, it was enormous. Back in 1967, it cost Sweden about $120 million US. That one number really puts into perspective just how deep this stuff runs. So where does that leave us today? We have a world that's divided by a rule that started with swords and got cemented by revolutions. A division that is now literally set in asphalt, making any kind of global standard a monumental task. And that's really the key takeaway here. After all this time, all the studies have shown there are no real technical or safety advantages to one side over the other. The reality is, the side we drive on is purely an accident of history, a legacy of ancient traditions and political decisions made centuries ago. And that brings me to one last really fascinating thought for the future. As we start moving toward autonomous self-driving cars, will this entire division finally become irrelevant? A car that's guided by satellites and sensors doesn't have a dominant hand. Could technology be the one thing that finally unifies the world's roads, solving a problem that history created? What do you think?
Don't forget to like and subscribe for more How Meets History.